Dear brothers, dear president of the ITI, dear members of faculty, dear members of ITI, dear students, dear members of the staff, dear brothers and sisters. I would like to use my imagination together with you and speak about the child Jesus is talking about. The gospel doesn't say anything about that child. This child hasn't got a name and no age. We do not even know whether it's a boy or a girl. Therefore, I have to imagine it myself. Who is this child? In my imagination, I see a boy about 7 or 8 years old, saying nothing but listening to the words of Jesus. This boy is old enough to speak to the people around him. He has learned, in his 7 or 8 years of lifetime, he has learned the language and knows how to communicate. He has learned that there are people whom he can trust, his parents. And they take care of him and give him whatever he needs. He has learned to listen, to communicate, and to trust. These three abilities, this knowledge, is necessary for his life, for his future. To listen, to communicate, and to have trust, to have confidence. According to the average age of man, he has only been living 10% of his lifetime. There are still 90% to come. And he will need these three abilities in school. He will have to listen to the teachers, he will have to communicate his knowledge, hopefully during the exams, and he will have to trust that his time in school is necessary for his life. As a 7-year-old boy, he has learned the basics, the necessary presupposition for his future, the fundamental knowledge that is necessary for learning new things, for learning languages, science, and arts. These basics are crucial. Dear brothers and sisters, we celebrate the 25th anniversary of the International Theological Institute today. And it came to my mind that the ITI might be, in some ways, similar to that boy. I know the ITI is older than that boy, in the gospel. But maybe, hopefully, these 25 years are also only 10% of ITI's lifetime, or even less. 25 years in the lifetime of a theological institute is more or less, I dare to say that, the childhood of a theological institute. The ITI has learned, like the boy in the gospel, to listen, to communicate, and to have trust. Without those abilities, without that knowledge, I think the ITI would probably not exist anymore. And so I would like to reflect on these three abilities, what they might mean to you. Listening. It's a central part in ITI's way of studying. First of all, like the boy in the gospel, you listen to Jesus. To Jesus by reading the Bible, by encountering him in the Eucharist, and in your personal prayer. Christ is the teacher of the language you need. Without this language, you will not understand a single word of any theologian. Without knowing the vocabulary of faith, you will not understand what the theologians, even the great ones, might want to tell you. Knowing this language, then you listen to the great theologians in church history, church fathers, church doctors, by reading their books. It is one of the principles of the ITI, listening to them directly. And as another principle, you listen to the papal magisterium. Of course, St. Pope John Paul II has a singular position in the ITI, given the fact that he has founded it. But also his successors, Benedict and Francis, and of course, his predecessors. They give guidance to you. Like the boy in the gospel, at least how I think that he is, the ITI has learned to communicate. Communicate in a specific and singular way, like every child. Communication between Eastern and Western theology, Eastern and Western liturgy, that's one of the specific ways how you study here. Breathing with two lungs means that there is communication between both Eastern and Western ways of believing and thinking. Communication is also crucial when you read the books of the great theologians in seminars, exchanging your views, your questions, maybe your doubts with other students, with the theological teachers. That's necessary for advancing in studies and advancing in faith. Being a theological institute with a real campus life, you would not survive without communication, living together, sharing interests, sharing life and faith. That's the main part of campus life. Eating together, praying together, and studying together. That's one of the basic abilities you need if you want to combine theology, faith, and life. And without communication, no family will survive. Therefore, the ITI has got specific abilities for the studies in the field of marriage and family. Listen, communicate, and to have trust. Like the boy trusts his parents, the ITI has got trust in God's providence. That's what we celebrate on this very special day. 25 years ago, God's providence helped the ITI to survive by the intercession of Saint Therese. Without that trust, the ITI could not exist. Trust in God's providence also means trusting in the goodwill of benefactors. And I would like to take the opportunity to thank all those who support the ITI with their donations. I would like to thank the members of the Board of Trustees and its director. The ITI needs the support, like the boy needs the support of his parents. He could not survive without it. Trusting in providence, but also means that it's not me as a theologian who has to save the world, who has to save the church. Trusting in God's providence means I do everything I can in order to study and to learn and to listen. But I must also be humble and trust God that He knows which way the church should go. He has saved the world already, and I only have to accept that. Dear brothers and sisters, listen, communicate, to have trust. Jesus calls us to be like this boy ever and ever again, to start again as this boy by listening communicating and having trust. Saint Therese is one of the patrons of the ITI. In her little way, she wanted to listen to God's voice, even and especially when life has been difficult in her convent. And now she communicates with us, with her example and her humble life. And God's providence made her a missionary. Nobody would have thought that before. Her early life ended, but who would thought that she would now travel around the world, if the pandemic admits it. So I would like to congratulate you. Happy birthday on this 25th anniversary, and would like to thank all those who contribute to this theological institute with their efforts, with their time, with their faith. I would like to wish you that your future will be a good one. You have got already everything you need, like the boy in the gospel. And if you keep these abilities and this knowledge, then it won't only be good for your future, but then you will enter the kingdom of heaven.